It has been so long since I've done one of these videos. I want to say the last video I did like this was November of 2020, so that's six months ago. That is, I can't believe I've made it this long. I think the reason I've done this is because there have been so many times that I've wanted to make this exact video about Spellbreak, and I just have waited because other things have happened since, I guess, like there have been other things that like, oh, maybe I should wait, see how this plays out. Maybe I should wait, see how this plays out. It's been too long. We've got a lot to talk about. I don't, first of all, Dan, I apologize because you're gonna have to sift through all of this, and whatever makes it into this video, makes it into this video because Dan thought it was worth it. If it doesn't, then I might release the long cut. I'll probably use the word a lot and then pause, maybe take a sip of my Capri Sun, which, by the way, you might want to get a drink because this could potentially be a very long video. I got my Capri Sun here. I'm gonna go ahead and open it so we can get that underway at least. I might take a sip because it might be long-winded. It might be something that, let's take the bottom from mold. Yeah. So Spellbreak is in a very weird spot right now. It's been in a weird spot for quite a while. A lot of you guys have probably not been in Spellbreak for as long as I have. By the way, I'll go ahead and say, like, when I started playing, when I got the key, when I became, I saw a video about Spellbreak on Twitter in October-ish, maybe it was August to October, sometime in there of 2018. So there are definitely people who play this game, who've played this game longer than I have. Maybe not as much as I have. There are more people who've played way more than I have, but not as long and as much. Anyways, we're gonna get past it. So I at that point, tried to get a key because it was closed beta. You had to be invited, or closed pre-alpha. Had to be invited to that. So I didn't get my key till after Christmas, but my PC couldn't really handle it, so I didn't really play until I think my first like official game was January like 2nd of 2019, which was still pre-alpha, and then in alpha started February 12th, I want to say, somewhere around there, and which is when we could start streaming it, which is the day I started streaming it. So I've streamed Spellbreak since February 12th-ish, whatever day it was that alpha started, which means the NDA was lifted. I started streaming Spellbreak February of 2019. I have been here for everything, pretty much, except for the first few months. I think you could actually get into the game July of 2018, join the community around like August to October, somewhere in there. I didn't get to play until January 2nd, so I still saw everything from August until January, but I just didn't play. And the game has gone through a lot. It has gone through a lot. The original, back in the day, first of all, so this video is going to kind of talk about like why I think Spellbreak is in the weird state that it is currently, what I think could be done to get out of that spot, and that's pretty much it. We're gonna talk about movement, we're gonna talk about damage, we're gonna talk about consoles, we are going to talk about community, we're gonna talk about a lot of things that I have just watched happen, and things that I think were handled very odd and moved into a different realm to start. So pre-alpha, the only thing you could play Spellbreak on was PC. Alpha, the only thing that you could play Spellbreak on was PC. Alpha went, I want to say, from February to like October of 2019, I think. And then at that point was when they had beta, and beta, I don't remember the dates at this point. It's been a long time. I want to say it was when they brought PlayStation in. And at that point, we kind of noticed a little bit of a shift in direction. And then beta 2, and then it dropped, and then it released in September of 2020, and it has Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, Epic, all of the stuff minus mobile, right? So minus mobile. Back then, the game, so pre-alpha and alpha, the game was very fast. It was very, something like that a lot of people don't mention is that Spellbreak had a lot of issues too. Like, yes, there was a lot of great things, but there was a lot of bad things. There was a lot of issues. There was a lot of like, performance was horrendous. I could barely run it on my PC. Granted, my PC wasn't very good. I want to talk about movement first. Back in pre-alpha, there was a lot of fast momentum carrying ways to play the game. You could go very, 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 very fast. There was pretty much only one rune that people wanted, which is Blink. If you don't know what Blink is, there's footage out there. We might have some playing in the background right now when we're talking about this. It was a 3 burst, sort of like dash, but you couldn't wiggle with it, and it was only straight, so whichever direction you were going is when it went. So if you ever see people like whip with like shadow step or stuff like that, we call it blink whipping. It's kind of what I do when I play. That's why I play shadow steps, because it reminiscent of Blink. But it was 3 charges of a shorter dash, and it was only straight, and it had like a yellow trail, and then it switched to pink later. But anyways, the reason it was so popular was because there was hover on everything. So if you tried to shoot a fireball, you would hover in the air. If you tried to shoot toxic, you would hover in the air. If you tried to do anything but stone slam, you hovered in the air. So in order to counteract that, You would shoot, blink out of the way, shoot, blink out of the way, shoot, blink out of the way, and you'd have all three of them done. Everyone had wind jump, and the wind jump was pretty much double what it is now, maybe even more. I don't know, but it was everyone had high wind jump. It was slower firing, which helped the wind spam nonsense. But like I said, every single player not inside Tempest had wind jump. They also, everyone had alacrity on Frostborn, but you could all, I want to say everyone could run on it. But anyways, everyone had wind jump. Because there were 12 different classes. Now they've broken those classes down, the 6 that they pulled out, which were non-elemental, like Bulwark and some other things. My brain's blanking at the moment, but they pulled those and kind of separated them into like kind of how the talents worked. They added things in back that way, not all of them. So if you ever want to be curious about what other talents might come into the game, they probably will pull from those other classes. So it wasn't like a just Tempest thing. So there was more movement for everybody with that. It was quicker. There was no momentum, there was no momentum, there was not that there was no momentum clamping, but not nearly as much as there is now. Spellbreak nowadays is slow. It feels like they have kind of, so this is when it goes back to the release of things. So pre-alpha, alpha, and then PlayStation came in. When PlayStation came in, it was our first taste of like aim assist. It was our first taste because there was no real controller support before that. There was ways to play it, but it was very awkward, very strange. Basically, I had to be taught it by one community member, which is basically Rusty. If you know who Rusty is, GX, Rusty XG, would show you kind of how to do that. That's why I learned how to play a mouse and keyboard, because I was a controller player back before, and jumped into Spellbreak, which is my first PC game. So if I can jump into a game as my first PC game when it was crazy fast, crazy insane, and do well, people just need to pull up their britches and just do it. I mean, the game is amazing. It was so much less AoE from what I remember. I could be totally wrong, but the movement, regardless, the movement got you out of that AoE. Fast forward to beta, and you have controller, and they sort of dumbed down movement from pre-alpha to beta. They gave things a little bit easier to do damage. Not completely as easy as it is now. There's still AoE, but it's a little bit different, and they kind of blew it out of proportion. Aim assist was brought in, so it was really easy to do damage. Hitboxes are huge, which they kind of were in alpha, but like I said, there was movement to get you out of that. By this point, Blink is gone. Blink has been removed. There is only Dash and Shadow Step and other stuff, which if you've played those, they're great runes, but it's just not the same. So they've kind of taken down run speed. They've taken out Blink. They've taken out wind jump for everybody. They've taken out the insane speed that you can get from alacrity. Alacrity, it was just craziness. Like the amount of things you could do back then versus when they got to beta, and it was like you're kind of stuck in the mud. You're just getting blown up. You're getting zapped by controllers. You're getting ice pegged by controller players. Your movement has been clamped down. Your momentum's been clamped down, basically so that controller players, and no hate to my console homies, no hate to my controller players, but I guarantee you the reason that things changed was so that they can make crossplay happen. So instead of balancing the game so that it was fun for everybody, they kind of started balancing the game to where it was a little bit easier for the controller players, with in mind the fact that they wanted to go to Switch. They wanted to go to Xbox. They wanted things to come into play so they can have full crossplay, full cross progression on launch, which they did. By the way, they were one of the very first games to do that. However, it was at risk of making your PC and the game what made the game sparkle in the beginning kind of go down the drain. It was very early that this happened, was beta. And then you go to beta 2, and it just kind of gets worse. Like speed starts to be a little bit weirder. Things starting to get a little bit bigger AoE wise, or feels that way because movement isn't as fast. And they kind of feel like they just need to make it so that they can get Switch in there. So they're balancing things so that Switch and Xbox can come in, and so it's easier for people to pick up, which in my opinion, you should balance things to where it is fun for your core group. And then if people want to play that game on Switch and want to play that game on the consoles, then that is when you move to it. It is cool to have crossplay again across the board. It's cool to have cross progression across the board. However, if your game is not, like if your player base is not begging for it, if you don't have a big enough player base to support that kind of thing, so you're ripping people from your PC and going into Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, just to maybe get like a pop-up here, or you're balancing things in the wrong direction. You're softening things. You're making it not competitive. You can't take a competitive game and strip it down and balance it so that a Switch controller can compete with a PC. It's not something you can do. If you want the game to be a PvE game where they can play it on the train ride to work, by all means, balance it that way. That's not what you have. I think what one of the core issues with Spellbreak is that they have struck gold with a very great competitive PvP game, yet they want to have a slower paced PvE game that you can play on any console with anybody at any moment. And they're trying to make it be that game. We will see what happens in chapter 3. We will see what goes on that way, but I can almost guarantee you that they are going to try to make this game more casual friendly already than it already has. So we talked a little bit about movement. I mentioned that we want to talk a little bit about consoles. We talked about a little bit consoles. I want to talk a little bit about, I don't remember what I said, community. Something that was kind of like, this has not been brought up in I don't think at all. The community used to be ran by Gordon, which freaking love Gordon. Gordon is fantastic. He's now the marketing lead and the director of community, but he wasn't for a long time. They brought in somebody else named Andy. Unfortunately, in my opinion, he was terrible at his job. We had some issues. Me and Andy did, but he always tried to make it up at the end. But we had our issues. I don't think he was very good at like the whole community building thing. He was very good at like the community placating, I guess you would say. So that kind of hurt because it was during the launch period and during the bringing in people. Granted, it was a big time. There was a lot going on. So it could have just been overwhelming for him. And then so Flossie was brought in. Flossie's great. And then Gordon, so Andy was fired for some reasons, and then Gordon came back. So Gordon is back in part of the community. We've talked about it a few times, but the community is something that is kind of in shambles right now, and there hasn't been a lot done to kind of fix it. I stopped playing Spellbreak as much. A lot of people have left the game. I don't feel like anything has really been done to kind of fix that at the moment. Hold on. I don't know how I would fix that. I am going to try. I know Timmy does a great job trying to keep the community together. There's a lot of people who do a lot of great things. Chaos is doing great things for competitive. He's trying to keep things together. Kyrie is doing amazing things. There's a lot of people who are doing fantastic things to try to keep this community together. And the current, I don't want to say just the community. I like to say this because it makes sense. It's the core community and sort of like the Twitch content community together, because the other people who play the game don't really interact with that, and we all kind of interact with each other. So that community is being held by those people, and I'm gonna try to get back into it and do it more often. It's just, queue times and stuff like that is kind of hard to stream with. But community is something that I think helps make or break a game, and we are currently in a very negative, dangerous place when it comes to the community, with people leaving left and right within the core community, making it worse. I would say we see Reddit posts about all of the top English Spellbreak streamers are leaving the game, which isn't true. There's one, Kamsky has left the game, so he says, for a while. Kamsky has taken breaks before. This time he says this is definite. We'll see if how that goes. Kamsky, I love you, and we always love to have you back. But it's very dangerous when so many people are leaving that it just creates this like, oh God, maybe it's time that we all leave, without even really paying attention to the problems. And currently in Spellbreak, I think the problems are you're too slow. There's too much AoE. The game mode is not what they should have brought in. We'll talk about that in 1 second. Community feels very, very strange. We don't really know what's happening. There's zero word about what's to come. There is zero roadmap at all, period. You cannot find it anywhere. There was an old one back in, I think the last one we got was beta. I could be wrong, but I think the last one we got was beta. And granted, they don't have to give us a roadmap. It's just nice when we feel like things are going to shit to give us a little bit of info into where you're going with the game, so that we don't have to guess about anything. Which, by the way, guessing about whether or not I tweeted this today, guessing whether or not my rank queues being insane is based on whether or not I have a high ranking, which isn't really high, it's plat 4, or if it's because matchmaking is busted. We've seen multiple posts about 3v3s constantly, 3v3s constantly, 3v3s constantly. Sometimes a 5v2 or a 4v3 or a 4v2. We don't know any of this stuff because they don't really talk about it. They don't really give us any information about that stuff, which granted, they don't have to. They don't have to tell us that, but I'm just saying that it would be great. And there's gonna be people who are gonna say stuff like, well, Ubisoft doesn't do this, or Epic doesn't do this, or whatever. Just because someone doesn't do it and hasn't been doing it for years and years does not make it right, does not make it a good idea. Just because people have done things in the gaming industry for however fuck long you wanna talk about it, doesn't mean that it is the right way to do it. It just means that's how they've done it. It's like saying like, well, we've been putting in electrical sockets for the same way for 40 years. Why change it? Coding and fires. That's why. Your coding changes. You don't want your house to burn down. You change the way you do it. It's better. The same thing. You have to evolve. You have to do things a different way than other people. Granted, that's a little bit of an extreme example, but you understand the point. To the game mode, I just don't, it doesn't make sense to me to up AoE. It doesn't make sense to link it to your rarities to make it more AoE based on how high of a gauntlet you have. So the end of matches and games just has sorceries everywhere. They have recently drawn in Fireball AoE, but it doesn't make sense to me to have a game that is heavily reliant on AoE and spam. And to make your first game mode, for a ranked game mode, by the way, be a game mode that is built around staying in one spot for 9-10 seconds. It doesn't make sense to me to have someone stay in one location when there's 5 other people that can just spam AoE at that location. It's just not, it's not something that I can see a board of people sitting down and being like, hey, this is the game mode we want to do. And not anyone being like, no. And granted, people could have said no, but I feel like the majority of them said, yeah, that sounds amazing. In no game can you tell me that there is a 3-point capture point mode that is the mainstay of that game. It is usually the game mode that is built for casual players who don't really want to do anything but capture the point because they can't get kills. And I can almost guarantee you that this is the reason that was brought into the game, was that so that people who didn't know or couldn't get kills could have something to do. And that is go from point A to point B, capture point B, go from point B to point C, capture point C, go from point C to point A, capture point A, go back and forth, keep going, keep going. Granted, they added bots in to make it a little bit more interesting. So go to point A, capture point A, go to point B, C, go to point B. On the way to B, there's bots. You can kill the bots with 2 seconds, which by the way, I love the bots. Don't get me wrong. But you go, you go from point A to point B, kill some bots on the way, go from point B to point C, kill some bots on the way, and then repeat. Yes, people want objectives. That's not what people want to do. People don't want to just cap points and go from back to forth, which is why if you play a 3v3 and it's just 3 people going to point B, capturing point B, oh no, the other team's gone to point A, they're capturing point B, and then they rotate back and forth. Like, that's, in my opinion, you need to have a game mode that's going to make your gameplay shine, which Dominion does not make the gameplay shine. Currently, the gameplay doesn't really make the gameplay shine because it's slow and just AoE getting blown up all the time. So it's hard to make people get into the game. I don't know where I was going. So about one thing to add about the Dominion, they took out Clash to do this. And if you don't know what Clash is, it was a 9v9, basically BR, but 9v9. You drop down, you loot, you get to a certain point, the storm no longer closes. You get to a certain score limit. It's 9v9, bunch of nonsense going on. All I think they had to do to make that game mode better, and it would be a million times better than Dominion, is add the buy system from Dominion, which the buy system from Dominion, we can talk about that in a minute, I don't think is a good buy system. Add that, and then make it 5v5, and I think that right there is a million and billion% better than Dominion. I mean, if you look at any other game, the team deathmatch game mode is always something that people play more than like a control domination mode. It doesn't make sense to me. We've just talked about this, but it doesn't make sense to me to make that your game mode anyways, let alone the fact that you have all of this AoE spam. So let's get into the actual like buy menu. You pretty much can get whatever you want whenever you want, sort of. It's like at the beginning you can get whatever rune you want. You just might have to use your cooldown or your whatever it is, the reroll. You will get whatever gauntlet you want. You might have to use a reroll. After that, it's like they kind of give you what they want you to have, even though you may have the build you want. It's gonna take a little bit longer to get the level that you want. It's gonna take a little bit longer to get the health or the shield, the mana, and the sprint speed that you want. Instead of just giving us the option to just buy what we want, have a better option. It's like, hey, here's just a slightly annoying RNG for no reason. Like I don't think it entices people. I think the point of RNG, in my opinion, is to entice people to play other builds, but people don't want to do that. People want to play what they want to play. They want to play the game the way they want to play it, let alone the fact that it's a ranked mode. They want to play ranked the way they want to play ranked. Now, you can throw all the RNG you want into a non-competitive game mode, but people want to play things the way they play things. Imagine being in a tournament for, this probably will never happen, but for $100,000, right? You get the rune you want, you get the gauntlet you want, but for some reason you are absolutely shafted on your main rune and you have a common rune, or your main gauntlet, like your pyro gauntlet or your fire gauntlet, and you're on pyro. You're absolutely shafted and you have a white common gauntlet the whole damn time. because the RNG system wouldn't give you that one thing. Well, the likelihood of that happening, probably not very high, but it can happen. There's a possibility that it can happen. So because of that stupid RNG thing, you no longer have, like, it's basically like you don't even have a chance at that 100K because that white gauntlet just stayed in your inventory the whole time. There's a problem with Spellbreak, and it is core gameplay and game mode. There's not currently, in my opinion, a good game mode for Spellbreak that shows off the skills and the talents and the actual gameplay in the right way. There's not something that there. I'm not going to talk about what game mode I would like to see in Spellbreak because I've talked about it on Twitter since 2019 and it still has not happened. However, another game did exactly what I talked about. And then they definitely didn't see me say this, but I have been saying that Spellbreak needs this mode with this exact buy system for 3 years, 2 years now. 1, 2, 3, 3 years, 2 years. I don't know how to do math. I've been talking about this for a very, very long time. The buy menu lets you buy whatever you want as long as you have the currency for it. The buy menu lets you buy your ult and your secondary skills, which would be kind of cool if you could only buy sorceries and like rune abilities every once in a while. I think the runes should be pretty much always there, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you buy heals that way. You buy if you're limited to buy things based on a currency, which I think is way better than the buy menu right now, because right now you have to buy something. And in a buy system, you can just save and save and save until you get that one thing. And their option is to buy other things there. If you want to buy something that's cheaper, you go ahead and buy that something that's cheaper. This current buy system is just not it. I know I'm talking a lot, I'm sorry, but like, there's just so many things that I think Spellbreak needs to be in where it is. They have upped their game on a lot of things. I don't want to just sit here and bag on Spellbreak, but they have upped their game in quests. They've upped their game in cosmetics. They've upped their game in art. They have upped their game in performance. They have upped their game in a lot of things. However, the core gameplay is still lacking. It is still, it's, and I don't think it's because they don't know how to balance a game. I don't think it's because they don't know how to make a fun game. It's because they are too invested in making it easily accessible for everyone, when they really should be separating everybody and making, I don't think there is a possible way to make a game competitive and have a high skill ceiling on PC that can still play and have a good time with Switch. I don't think that's possible, and I think that's what they're trying to do. And so what's happening is they are balancing it so that Switch can participate, and it's just deleting all of the skill ceiling. It's deleting everything. I know I'm just rambling at this point, and I'm not really sorry, because the ramble just needs to be, it needs to happen. There's just been so many things that have led to this point, and I want to get this all out there before it's too late. And I feel like I might have waited a little too long, and me saying something doesn't mean it's gonna happen. I mean, it's just, I don't know if they even, I know they hear everything and they see everything, but I don't think they listen. Like, I don't know what group of people they listen to. I know in stream, we talk to everybody in Spellbreak, and we have since February 12th, 2019. We've been one of the top streams in Spellbreak since then. And we see all of the new people that come in and want to learn, and they see all of the things. And they ask me, why is this way? Why is it like, we as a community have talked to all of the new people from the beginning. So I know what the new players feel. I know what they feel pretty much the whole time. I don't know who Spellbreak is listening to make certain changes the way that they make them, because new and old players rant about the same things in streams, on YouTube, on Reddit, on Twitter, everywhere. Like, new and old players rant about the same things. I know that they listen a lot to data, but data does not tell you how things feel. They don't tell you how it feels to miss their shots. They don't tell you how it feels to learn to hit your shots. Data doesn't tell you how it feels to do any of that stuff. So yes, they may be missing all of their shots. Yes, they may be leaving the game, but the more you kind of balance out the skill progression and balance out the separation of consoles, the worse it feels. And your data isn't gonna really tell you that, I don't think. I mean, it's just, I'm just in this really weird state of just constantly wishing I knew where the game was going a long time ago. I don't know if I would continue I don't know if I would have continued to play the game if I knew where it was going to come here. I knew back then that they were kind of balancing things to be a little bit easier, but they've continued to do that. I do know that player retention is bad. So what they're doing to do that is kind of make it easier for the newer player. That's fine. However, remember that when you're balancing a game, I know they know this, they're very intelligent people, but when you are balancing a game to make it easier for new players, you have to remember that every single player above that skill level has that exact same benefit. They can use those exact same things. If it's easy, they can use it just as much as the new players, just to shit on them constantly. And if those new players make it past that first week of just getting dumpstered by those casual, like by those any level above them that has easy access to all that damage and all that whatever, they then realize how easy the game is and then they leave anyways. So there's 0 point for them to continue. If there's no skill ceiling, if there's no true separation between the movement skills you can learn, the damage that you can deal. Like currently, it's the easiest it's ever been to do damage in my opinion. It's just the easiest it's ever been. Movement, it just feels like a sitting duck. So for a new player, they just get pooped on and then they play a week and they realize how easy it is to poop on other people and they're like, there's no reason to play this. My thoughts on how to fix that. I think I tweeted this the other day or I said it to someone in a DM. I can't remember. Let me go find it. I wrote it down a second ago, but like there are certain things that I would change. And that is going to be, I would up movement a good bit, tone down AoE, speed up projectiles, and lengthen sorcery cooldowns as well. So like speed up the movement. Dan's tweet sort of maybe have that in mind. So we talked about the tweet earlier, but we didn't really say anything about it, but it was a GIF of Spider-Man dodging lightning, which people have been asking for a dodge / movement based dash thing for a very, 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 very long time. Like I can't, so back when Blink was pretty much the only rune that you could use, people have been asking about it since then. So like pre-alpha, that long. I don't know if it's too late for them to do that. If they do that, they have to add it the exact right way, because if they add it and it's bad, it basically is worse than if you just didn't add it. This dodge blink thing has to be perfect, in my opinion, to make it work the right way. And currently with AoE, I don't think that it would even really matter depending on how much of a cooldown it has, if it has one at all. Knowing them, I know it's going to have a cooldown. It's probably going to have momentum clamp. It's probably going to be, oh, there's something we need to talk about also, which is like things being half-baked coming out. It's probably going to be a little bit half-baked. It's probably going to feel like it's made for a beta game in a fully released, I want to say this is a AAA title. It just is something that needs to happen. So like, where else is this? So because of the dodges coming in, I think they need to, if it is a dodge, we don't really know what that GIF means, but I don't know what else it could possibly mean. But if that is a dodge coming into the game, they need to toe down AoE. There is too much easy damage. And if you are going to take a dash mechanic and try to fit it into the game, it has to be worse than the current dash rune, or the dash rune doesn't make sense to have, unless it is the dash rune, which I guarantee it's not. It does not make any sense for why they would bring it in there. But dash sometimes can't get out of the way of AoE. So they would have to tone down AoE. The size and the damage it would be what I would do, which would also help for what else I said, which was lengthen sorcery cooldowns as well. So if you lengthen sorcery cooldowns, it tones down AoE almost instantly. I still think it should be toned down even more than that. But that's the thing. Now, I said speed up projectiles. Something that I think hurts player retention is the fact that it's all projectile based and it's slow projectile based, which is why they go to wind and lightning and ice almost 99.999% of the time. I don't know the stats. I just, from what I run into constantly, that's what I see. Or stone, where you don't really have to aim it. If they're on the ground, you hit them, you do the damage. I don't see a lot of people using fire, that unless they've been playing for a minute. So I think if you upped the projectile speed, maybe double it, well, probably not double it. I'm just like exaggerating just to show it would be easier for everyone to hit their shots. So what you would do is you take the hitbox and kind of rein it in a little bit. We do know there's going to be a central cam coming, so shots will be easier to hit anyways, because it won't be that side view projectile slowness. So you won't see things like go behind that you thought would go in front or hit the plate. Anyways, you won't see that. But speed up projectiles, because you would be moving, your movement would be faster, and your movement would be, you would have more movement. I think those go hand in hand, which is with both my ideas would be movements. Movement would be upped a little bit. Projectile speeds will be upped a little bit. Lengthened sorcery cooldowns would be something that I think you would have to do. Make your class benefits a little bit more rare, because constantly all fights just kind of feel the same. And this would kind of make things feel a little bit different. And then turn on AoE. There's not a lot that I think they need to do that. I think they could do that pretty easily. Honestly, I don't think it would take that much for them to do. Regardless, the way that Chapter 3 is sounding so far, all we know about Chapter 3 is that dash lightning thing where you're hopping around the lightning, and then the central camera. We don't know much else. I'm sorry I've been ranting for a long time, and Dan, I'm sorry that you're having to go through all of this. There's just so many things that came out like half-baked, like customs. I feel like it was just like, hey, fine, here's customs, go have customs, which isn't a pretty terrible time to release customs, by the way. Also, we can't drag people left and right to the game. They can't just enter the code. They have to go to someone's team and go that way. It's such a weird way to do customs. It just seems like they were like, here, fine, have it. Same thing with the rezzing in BR. There's no mechanic. It's just hold down F, here, have it, go for it. I do think that the dodge probably is gonna be, the dash dodge thing with the lightning is probably gonna be roughly the same, where it's like, we made it, here, have it. Which is basically what it's sort of what the game mode felt like too. It was like, we want a new game mode, we don't want BR. Okay, fine. Here, have it. It's just a cap mode. We don't want to put any extra info into it. We don't really want to do a buy menu, so we're gonna do some weird RNG based sort of, here, have it. And the ranked mode is sort of the same way, where it was just basically like they took a BR-esque rank mode and then threw it into the game, which I guess makes sense if you want to use that rank mode for every single mode, but a lot of the things in the game just feel like, fine, here, have it. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get out of that pile unless they spend a lot more time on things. I know they spend a lot of time. They work very, very hard. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, we are in a fully released game. You can't keep treating it like a beta. You can't keep changing things that don't really need to be changing, like the aiming thing that was changed. Just, there's certain things that doesn't need to be changed. There's just, in my opinion, it's just like so right there in front of my face, but I don't make games. I don't make this. So all of these things are my opinion, and all of these things that I've said may not fix the game. It's just what I have known and what I've talked to the community for 2 years, over 2 years, and things that I have seen change and people leave over recently. A lot of people have left. A lot of people have left as these changes happen because they kind of see where it was going, and it's just tough. It's tough to watch. It's tough to see all of your homies leave over 2 years. They do come back every once in a while, but then they see the same things and they see that it's gotten worse, or they see things have changed in the way that they don't really want them to, and they just leave again. And I think I'm just fed up with it happening. I'm tired of sitting back and just letting things happen. So if you see me complain a lot, that's why. You see me tweet about things, I'm just so damn tired of things happening the way that I can't help them to happen. I can't. It's just things that like it's just hard. It's hard, and we talk about a lot of this stuff a lot. Like me and Marcus talk about whether if it's game mode related, or if it's balance related, or what the problem is. And it's definitely going to be hard for Spellbreak and Proletariat to kind of figure that out, because I don't think there's really one right answer, even though I've kind of laid it out my thought, even though it was a long drawn out ramble. There is definitely, it's hard, and I think a lot of times I kind of just take it out on places I shouldn't, like Proletariat, and I'm sorry if I do that, guys. I do love you. I know you guys are brilliant. I know you guys are very intelligent. The conversations I've had with you guys, and I think that's what makes it harder for me to really understand the direction that you're going. I do think the Spellbreak is going in a direction that I don't know if I'll be able to follow if they continue down the road of casual, maybe PvE stuff. It depends on what the PvE stuff, if they do that, would be. Like if they did like a MOBA style where there's like bots and stuff, but you're still playing against other teams, I would be totally okay with that. If they did like, I don't know, it's just interesting the way that things are. And so, yeah, guys, thanks for listening to me ramble for this fucking long. I don't even know how long this recording is. It's probably like 45 minutes at this point. So Dan, I'm very, 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 very sorry that you had to go through all of that. Yeah. Guys, tell me what you think down in the comments. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. We'll still be playing Spellbreak. Don't get me wrong. I still love this game dearly. This is has always been my #1 game. And I think that's why it hurts so bad. And I get so angry about it and aggravated when things are kind of going the wrong direction. But like I said at the beginning, I know I've said about a million times, there are a lot of things in Spellbreak that are fantastic. The art is fantastic. Like there's so many things that are great in Spellbreak. I don't think it would take very much for them to fix the issues that there are, as long as they want to fix them, or if they even realize or think that those things are the things that need to be fixed. We'll see. Guys, I love you. Love yourself. We'll talk about it some more in stream, Monday through Friday. Yeah, Monday through Friday, 10 to 3 roughly, except for Fridays where we get off at 2. I love you. See you around. Peace.
Yo, I'm hungry, where them Cheetos at? They stay biting like where them mosquitoes at. I'm on point like an elbow, hands red like Elmo. My mama said, have you had enough? I looked and I said, no ma'am. I go ham in the grocery store, or Fanta and Takis, riding with my